I'd like to call to order the Regional Planning Commission business meeting for Thursday, January the 12th, 2023. And as I said, it's 6:30. And as customary, I'll ask Mr. Davis if he'll lead us in the pledge. Thank you, sir, and welcome back. It's good to see you here. It's good to see everybody back. It's good to have a full frontage here today and tonight. I will ask if there's anyone in the audience that has a cell phone or another electronic device that you either put it on vibrate or you turn it off so it won't disrupt our meeting. Sarah, I'll now come to you for roll call and determination of quorum.
Mr. Peterman?
Here.
Mr. Servon?
Present.
Mrs. Karcher?
Here.
Mr. Galvry?
Here.
Mr. Mills?
Here.
Mr. Davis?
Here.
Mr. Jester?
Here.
So you have 7 present, you do have a quorum.
Fantastic. That sounds great. In front of you, you have tonight's agenda. If there's no additions, deletions, or any change to agenda, I'll entertain a motion and a second to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Sarah, call the commission.
Mr. Peterman?
Yes, to approve.
Mr. Servon?
Yes, to approve.
Mrs. Karcher?
Yes.
Mr. Galvry?
Yes, to approve.
Mr. Mills?
Yes, to approve.
Mr. Davis?
Yes.
Mr. Jester?
Yes.
So you have 7 yeas in favor of approving tonight's agenda.
Thank you. Also in front of you, you have the minutes for December 8th, 2022. Hopefully you've all had time to read them and look over them. If there is no corrections or anything about those minutes, I'll entertain a motion and a second to approve.
Make a motion to approve.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you very much. Sarah, call the commission.
Mr. Peterman?
Yes.
Mr. Servon?
Yes, to approve.
Mrs. Karcher?
Yes.
Mr. Galvry?
Yes, to approve.
Mr. Mills?
Yes, to approve.
Mr. Davis?
Yes, to approve.
Mr. Jester?
Yes to approve.
So you have 7 yeas in favor of approving the minutes of December 8th.
Thanks once again. Also in front of you, you have the applications that we acted on and what the levy court has done with them. If you have any additional questions, please see staff after the meeting. Now getting into new business for tonight. First on new business is AP 23-01, Voss Farm District. Request for approval of creation of an agricultural preservation district located outside the growth zone overlay district. And as customary, they weren't here, but we certainly have a pleasure to approve these type districts because they're a great asset to the county. So at this time, I'll entertain for a motion, or if anybody doesn't have any questions, entertain a motion.
I move that the Regional Planning Commission grant approval of application AP 23-01, creating an agricultural preservation district outside the growth zone overlay district. This is based on Exhibit A, the staff recommendation report dated January 5, 2023, Exhibit B, public hearing testimony dated January 5, 2023, and the findings of fact that A, the site is in an area that is predominantly agricultural with existing AP 10 and PDR districts in the vicinity, along with minimal residential development on lots fronting the county roadways.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Sarah, call the commission.
Mr. Peterman?
Yes, to approve.
Mr. Servon?
Yes, to approve.
Mrs. Karcher?
Yes to approve.
Mr. Galvry?
Yes, to approve.
Mr. Mills?
Yes, to approve.
Mr. Davis?
Yes, to approve.
Mr. Jester?
Yes to approve.
So you have 7 yeas in favor of granting approval of application AP 2301.
Thank them so much for doing it, and good luck with your project. Next on new business tonight, our second one is CS-23-01, the Reese Apartments. Request conditional use with site plan approval of a multi-family apartment located inside the growth zone overlay district. And I want to commend the engineers and those presenting us with that. I had great amount of communications with you, and you have addressed all of our issues. We certainly thank you for your professionalism, and we appreciate you doing what you have, and especially with Mr. Mills on the school bus stop and working with the Lake Forest School District and myself with the Felton Fire Company and being able to advance the fire suppression up there at the site. So I thank you very much for that. I will now ask the commission for entertain a motion.
Move.
Mr. Mills?
CS-2301, the Reeves Apartments, motion. Move the Regional Planning Commission recommend conditional approval of the application CS-23-01, a conditional use site plan for the multifamily apartments located inside the growth zone overlay district. This is based on Exhibit A, staff recommendation report dated January the 5th, 2023. Exhibit B, public hearing testimony dated January the 5th, 2023, and the findings of the facts that a subject site is zone BG, general business, and 205-170 and 205-251 permits apartments as a conditional use. The location is appropriate and not in conflict with the comprehensive plan. Public hearing, safety, and general welfare will not be adversely affected. Pursuant to Chapter 187 and 205 of the Kent County Code and pursuant to 9 Del C 4802 and 4811, the Commission has reviewed the application and the January 5th, 2023 staff recommendation report, and furthermore, as part of this approval, the applicant shall comply with all staff and agency requirements as described in the January 5th, 2023 staff recommendation report, including but not limited to the existing evergreen buffers along the southern side property line shall remain on site and be maintained by the property owner as long as the proposal use exists. Signage shall be limited as follows. One identification sign limited to 32 square feet in area or a height of 6 feet above grade may be placed at the entrance from South DuPont Highway, or one sign may be located at each side of the main roadway entry point. Each sign not to exceed 15 square feet in area, and the total area shall be 30 square feet or less, and the height of each sign may not exceed 6 feet above grade. Democrat and area on the plan for future overflow parking. The area does not need to be improved. Install a crosswalk from the handicap parking space to apartment building A. All landscaping shall be native and non-invasive to Delaware. An additional fire hydrant shall be installed near the proposed dumpster. The water line to the fire hydrant shall be increased to 8 inches. A 6-foot-high optical fence shall be installed between apartment building B and the southern property line without compromising the existing evergreen buffer. A school bus stop shall be identified within the interior of the site. The final plan must be approved within 24 months of preliminary plan approval, and construction shall commence within 18 months of final approval. Failure to comply with the conditions of the approval or applicable regulations shall result in a ratification of any permits issued for the conditional use and a ratification of the conditional use itself.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Sarah, call the commission.
Mr. Peterman?
Yes to approve.
Mr. Servan?
Yes to approve.
Mrs. Karcher?
Yes, to approve. And I just have to say that every one of the emails and things, attachments that we got about the changes and that we recommended, I got a bigger smile on my face as I saw them all, so thank you.
Mr. Galvary?
Yes to approve.
Mr. Mills?
Yes to approve.
Mr. Davis?
Yes to approve, and agree with the chairman that everybody got together and kind of worked this all out. So I wish them best of luck. I approve it.
Mr. Jester?
Yes, for all the things that we asked for, and I appreciate their professionalism.
So you have 7 yeas in favor of recommending conditional approval of application CS 2301.
Thank you very much, and good luck with your project. Third and final on our new business agenda tonight is SL-22-01 Mulberry Meadows. Requests major subdivision approval of a 104-lot residential development located inside the growth zone overlay district. We had numerous questions on them and all like that. They have addressed some of our issues, but the others will be addressed possibly in a motion. So I'll now put it, I think Denise wants to make the motion.
I move that the Regional Planning Commission grant conditional approval of application SL-23-01, preliminary plan approval of an 104-lot residential subdivision located inside the Growth Zone Overlay District. This is based on Exhibit A, the staff recommendation report dated January 5, 2023, Exhibit B, public testimony dated January 5, 2023, attached hereto, and the findings of fact that A, the subject site is zoned AC agricultural conservation, in which a single-family residential subdivision is a permitted use. B, the application complies with the Kent County Comprehensive Plan. C, the application complies with the adequate public facilities ordinance. Pursuant to Chapter 205 of the Kent County Code and pursuant to 9 Delaware chapters, subchapters 4802 and 4811, the Commission has reviewed the application, and furthermore, as part of this approval, the applicant shall comply with all staff and agency requirements and planning staff recommendations as described in the January 5th, 2023 staff recommendation report, including but not limited to the following conditions. A, the waiver from 187-58.82 requiring linkage streets every 800 linear feet is denied. A street linkage shall be provided. B, the waiver from 187-53.4 regarding the required setback from stormwater management facilities is granted. C, the open spaces that are not utilized for active recreation be planted with a no-maintenance perennial ground cover to reduce the mowing requirements for the future homeowners association. The species of ground cover must be approved by the planning office prior to final approval of the subdivision. D, acknowledgement of and compliance with the Kent County Code Section 187-70 ownership and maintenance of active recreation areas and passive open spaces shall be required prior to final plan approval. E, prior to issuance of building permits, a surety shall be provided for all required improvements, for example, landscaping and active recreation. F, the Planning Commission's approval of the preliminary subdivision plan shall be valid for a period of 24 months. And G, there will be a school bus stop within the development.
I have a motion. Do I have a second? I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
I have a second from Mr. Servon. Sarah, call the commission.
Mr. Peterman?
I vote to deny.
So you're voting no? She's voting no, correct? Mr. Servon?
Vote for approval.
Mrs. Karcher?
Yeah, I vote to approve. I think that as a commission, especially since I've been here for so long, you have to learn to realize that we're voting on something is on this piece of land, and that we have no impact on anything that is DelDOT related. And it's sometimes very hard for us to do that. Over the years, I've learned that you just got to swallow it and, just vote on what we're allowed to vote on.
Mr. Galvary?
No.
Mr. Mills?
I'm voting no.
Mr. Davis?
Voting no, and like to state reason why. I think the applicant has a right to know this. One of the main responsibilities that we have as commissioners, and the utmost thing that we must protect for the public's interest, is what they call health, safety, and welfare. This particular application has a lot of details. Today I read this thing, I read the engineering report from JMT, a consultant company, about the road conditions. I live probably a half a mile from the site on US 13. I'm very familiar with it. The issue of Walnut Shade Road is in a deplorable condition. And the reason it's that way and how bad it is, every day at 3 o'clock, Delaware State Police have to come to Polytech and let the school buses out. And so that traffic is heavily populated. There are no shoulders on the road. Somebody had to pull off. You have a tremendous amount of school buses carrying probably 35, 40 children up and down that road in the morning, people going to work, and also in the afternoon. Now, when I look, I was going to have a compromise tonight, but there was a motion made to approve it, so that didn't fly. I did have a compromise I was going to present, but it didn't work out. The school bus location that I think Commissioner Mills, and I want to verify something I forgot, Mr. Chairman. I did not attend the meeting last week. However, I did view the entire tape of this meeting. I watched this tape very, very closely. I know everything was said, made notes of it. So I want that on the record that I have reviewed this. I'm just saying it because I wasn't here. But there's a school bus issue here. It's never been brought to our attention what they're going to do about it. Commissioner Mills asked that last week, is to bring something to us. We haven't seen it. So what we're talking about potentially children's lives. It's on these school buses going down Walnut Shade Road that's heavily traveled. And I'll refer to the JMT study that was conducted on November 23rd, 2022, and it talks about that particular road. That's the Peachtree Run, talks about the Walnut Shade Road, and it talks about the plans are, it says anticipated. It didn't say they're going to do it. It said they anticipate in 2023 there's going to be a roundabout at the intersection of Walnut Shade Road and Peachtree. They talk about currently in the design program. My experience with LDOT, it usually takes a year or two to make the design. So if you approve it, they start building houses and it takes a long time to get it done. You're putting people's lives in jeopardy. Not only are you talking about Walnut Shade Road, you're talking about Peachtree. That is another road that's basically deplorable. I travel down that road a lot. So as far as I'm concerned, I'm voting against it. There's too many public safety issues here. And I have a concern sometimes what happens. We're approving developments before we approve the infrastructure, or before LDOT approves it. This is after the fact. So we don't know if they're going to do it in 2023. Some of these federal programs we have listed are not going to be done until 2027. And I don't think it's fair for the developer have to sit there and wait. I had an option I was going to present, but like I said, that's down the tube. So I could not vote for this. You heard a lot of opposition. And I know there's issues about fences. I know there's issues about water drainage. I think that's a very valid concern. I went back and I looked at the ditches. There's an issue off of Peachtree where the entrance is going to be. That private driveway that goes to this field, I looked it up, it's not wide enough to do anything. Those ditches are all cluttered up. We heard testimony last week that we have flooding down there. So for public safety issues, I just cannot vote for this. And like I said, I see those school buses. All you need is one school bus to have a bunch of kids hurt. One. And I can't live with that, myself personally. In my position to vote, I'm voting no, because public safety to me comes first, and I'm not going to jeopardize that for development. What I had planned on doing tonight was if we approve it, was to make a statement and put it into motion that you couldn't start to build any houses until DelDOT had completed a construction on Walnut Shade Road. I was trying to be fair with the developer and concern those issues. I didn't get a chance to do that, but that's in the past. So I'm voting no for public safety issues concerning health, safety, and welfare. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Jester?
When I look at the development, and I think you heard last week, I did not like the one-way in, and I wanted the interconnecting roads on the side. I agree that a lot of the good land in Kent County has been developed. There is some poorer land that is now being developed. But when they come in and they address it with stormwater such as they have, they're actually improving the site by controlling the water flow. And as you heard in Denise's motion, we addressed the school bus issue by requiring them to have a school bus stop in the development. So as professionals sitting up here, we're supposed to look at the ordinances and what the contractor does, how he addressed what the planning section says needs to be done, and how he addresses other things. We have no say on the roadways themselves. For many years, we've tried to get the streets widened within developments, but DelDOT once again have shot us down on that. Having said all these things and being a professional, I try to be up front here, I'm voting yes for the development to go forth.
So you have 3 yeas, 4 nays regarding the motion to grant conditional approval, so that motion fails.
Thank you all, and I guess we'll probably be seeing what happens with development at levy court level. Oh, it doesn't go to levy court, that's correct, we've canceled it out.
You could make another motion should you choose, because there is no, that motion failed. You can make a motion doing something else, whether adding additional conditions or tabling it, an active motion to do something.
When it comes back to additional conditions, as Mr. Davis has stated, we can't require DelDOT to have something in place before a development actually gets started. Am I correct, Mr. Attorney?
Yeah, that would be on shaky ground, in my opinion.
So I will open it up to the commission if they'd like to add some additional things to this, but I don't know what you want to do, so I'll open it up to the other commissioners. One that voted no. Is there anything that you would like to add to it that maybe this development could be passed? Anybody would like to have a statement or say anything? Mr. Davis.
Well, I look at this thing, as I said earlier, as public safety. So my intentions were, and I've mentioned it before, to approve it with a condition that they can't build any homes or sell any homes until DelDOT completes Walnut Shade Road and all that construction that directly affects that new subdivision and all the other ones. Now keep in mind, as I mentioned, there's currently one directly across the road from the entrance that the chairman mentioned he didn't like, and one way in, one way out. I'm not too happy with that either. But I think I heard last week that there was a negotiation about buying some property and make that entrance a little bit wider, which is fine. But we don't know what's going to go across the road. You look on your map, it's right there. So you're compounding the problem by letting them do this with all those safety issues. Now, I have a little disagreement, Mr. Chairman. I looked up the Delaware Code and I know what it says. It says you must refer to health, safety, and welfare. That's in the Delaware Code. I've looked it up. Feel free to do so. So when I look at it, if the commission would entertain that, everybody would agree with that, I wouldn't have a problem doing what I have suggested. If you don't, then my vote will remain no.
I would like to once again go back to Mr. Eliason. Can that kind of condition be put in place to make this project move forward about waiting for DelDOT to do and complete construction?
Yeah, that's tricky. I mean, I mentioned a moment ago that would be on shaky ground because, you know, we have a comprehensive plan. We have an adequate public facilities ordinance, and according to the report, both of those have been the standards in both of those have been met. That's a tough call, but it really seems to be a little bit beyond the scope of what we do.
I think Denise would like to say something.
Yes. Well, one thing now with what our attorney just said, I think one thing that can be contemplated is to, until we can get a definitive answer about this specific area. Say, but I forget at this point. But, I mean, because as it is right now, if someone made that motion right now, I will vote no. Because, you know, I've been here 20 years and I know what can happen, and I don't want to put anyone through that. But I would be more than happy to table it until we can get more attorney.
To adequately table this, Mr. Eliason, would that be 30 or 60 days? What would you think would be appropriate?
Well, whatever you want. I think 30 days would be sufficient time to get an
Okay, I think we
answer
got
on the
some-
Del Dot issue.
Mr. Mills wants to say
Can I
something
comment
also.
on my reason for voting no? Is that okay?
Yeah, go ahead.
My reason for voting no was due to the safety factors of the school bus loading out on Peachtree Run. Now, I know the applicant last week did discuss the fact that they were in proposal to buy that property next door to them, and they would incorporate with making a bus stop there. I talked to Mr. Wooten. Mr. Wooten is transportation supervisor of Polytech School, and he wasn't even aware of this taking place, this development. But he said absolutely not. They will not approve loading kids on Peachtree Run, period. Stop.
The motion
That's why we
stated that-
included in the motion that they would have an interior school bus stop. That was in Denise's motion. That was part, no, it's not there. She added it to the motion tonight. She added to the motion. I will then open it up to the commissioners. Does anybody else would like to say anything, or anybody would like to go forth with a motion? Okay, go ahead, Denise.
I just, again, been here for as long as I've been. I think we've been this health, safety, and welfare route before, and I feel like we're tilting at windmills. Am I correct about that, sort of?
It's a little vague, is.
Right, so we're tilting at windmills.
I would suggest if the commission were open to tabling it, that does give staff and the applicant time to coordinate with Del Dot and find out what the construction schedule actually is, and perhaps come to an agreement on timing.
And
I would
figuring out
then-
what the other point is,
Go ahead.
maybe ascertaining what Del Dot's timetable is, if they can tell us that.
Yeah, because I think they've run into some glitches with the traffic circle, as you mentioned. They've run into with some of the property owners. So I'd like it open up back to the commission for a possible motion to table it for 30 days to let staff, the engineering outfit of this development and all, to come back to us some answers that, like Mr. Davis wants to do, to tie it to public safety on the roadways, to tie it with the school bus, which was in the motion tonight. But I will open it up to the commission now. Mr. Davis?
I just have a question. I'd like to know why we didn't get an answer about the school bus, even though it was in your motion. Where's it going to be at? We hadn't seen no drawings. Nobody's given us any drawings where it's going to be. And I just think I just think somebody dropped the ball on that, because that was a big issue. It's still a big issue. Maybe somebody can address why you didn't
Wait,
show
so
it to
you're
us.
asking for an exact location from them?
Yes, absolutely.
Just being within isn't enough?
No, because I think it's important to know where it's at. We do it to other applications.
Let me interject something on that. It's not where you can be, it's where the schools have got to approve where it can be. Wherever the schools approve, it's got to be I'll give you an example of what it's got to be. It's got to be being able to go in, turn around, and come back out in a safe manner. It cannot be a street type, well, you go use this street and come back out this other street. What that gets into when you do that is there'll be some kid on that street that's going to get picked up, and then mom in the back, way in the back, said, "Wait a minute, if you can go down that street, you can come down my street," and they cannot do that. They can't go down every street. It's got to be a designated area of where those school buses are going to be, and where they're going to enter, and where they're going to exit, and where they're going to pick up the kids for that particular development.
I think that could be included in the motion to let staff work this out and let the attorney work with that about the safety and security, because I do support all those things. But when you got a development like this that, they've met all the qualifications and all the recommendations, I would entertain a motion for a 30-day and let them work with staff and let them work with our attorney to work out the safety issue and the time schedule for DelDOT and the school bus, how they will be oriented to come in, where they would pick up, and where they would drop off. Would that satisfy you?
Mr.
Okay.
Chairman, may I say something?
Yes, go ahead.
I don't know if 30 days will be enough to deal with the state highway department. If that would be a record, in my opinion, if they could get anything done to give us information in 30 days.
Yeah, I
And I
think-
also like to say why I voted no, because a lot of this stuff that they put in was good. I believe, just like Denise says, that there's things there that's lawful and all like that. But I believe in myself, there's a moral law that there's 200,000 people in Kent County, and I think that's more than 100 or 200 buildings. I think we owe to that moral law and try to, if possible in any way, to try to get infrastructure before structure. I'm not going to tell you it's going to happen. I'm just saying that I think if it happens, it could be a relatively new thing.
Well, let me ask you another.
Yeah, because I know DelDOT has 21 working days to get back with answers to us. And really, 21 working days is over a month when you come right down to it. So I don't think we could do it in less than 60 days, Mr. Lyson. And somebody else had something?
One more question. Even if it is turned down tonight here, don't they have a right to come back later on with another approval plan?
They have to go through the whole process again unless we work with them to try to get it to our satisfaction, what needs to be done.
Well, I'm thinking that could be done.
Mr. Davis?
I don't know about that. As counselor, let's go back on our memory. We had a solar plant issue out on White Oak Road, and we turned it down, like the court turned it down. They changed their plan and came back 30 days, and that was legal. So they could do the same thing here. All they got to do is change the plan and come back in 30 days. And Mr. Lyson, I think you recall that.
Well, of course, that was under zoning. That was under 205 and not 187, as I recall. Am I right about that, Sarah? Yeah.
Yeah, I think we've got a lot of questions, and I know from us commissioners that's been here a long time, it seems a lot of these things boil back to DelDOT, because we have concerns about undersized highways, no shoulder on highways, and things like that. So I would suggest, once again, I'm going to put it back to the commissioners, a 60-day reprieve from this, and let council and staff work to see what they can come up with that they can come back. Entertain a motion, Sarah.
Why don't we make it 90 days? Let's not drag this thing around for 60 days and they don't have it. We need to be fair with them. Why we don't make it 90 days? You're not going to have that road fixed in 90 days, I'll tell you that. Just 2 years. So this is a big project, and I've looked at all those projects, and it's not going to be. But if in 90 days it gives them a fairness where they go out there and meet and maybe get a projection, then I don't have a problem coming back, and they have some time limit when they're going to do it. It might change my opinion altogether. Let's be fair to them and give them 90 days. I mean, they're not going to build nothing in 90 days because of DelDOT issues.
Denise, did you want to say something?
What, no, I'd like to make a motion.
Go ahead and make your
I think
motion.
we discussed ourselves.
Okay, because we could discuss this all night and not satisfied, that's for sure.
I make a motion that SL-23-01 Mulberry Meadows be tabled for a maximum of 90 days, but if they're able to get the information regarding our questions about DelDOT, our questions about the inner school, thank you, the school bus stop and any other issues that we've just discussed, then they can certainly, come back in 60 days or whatever, whenever they're able. And I guess that's between our attorney, the planning department, and the engineers of the development.
Is that appropriate, Mr. Eliason?
Yes.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to table this particular project for up to 90 days, but if they're prepared to come back sooner, like 60 days, they can come before us. So, Sarah, call the commission.
Mr. Peterman,
Yes, to table.
Mr. Servon,
Yes to approve the motion.
Mrs. Kircher?
Yes, to table.
Mr. Galvary,
Yes to table.
Mr. Mills,
Yes, I'll, to approve.
Mr. Davis,
Yes, I'll approve it, but I want the condition that they bring something in writing back from DelDOT. I don't want nothing verbal. I want to see something from DelDOT, what they anticipate, but I will support it.
Mr. Jester.
Yes, we could talk all night, and I think this is the right mode to proceed with this project.
So you have 7 yeas in favor of tabling application SL 2301 for up to 90 days.
Thank you all for working out an agreement and a deal. I think that's what we're up here about. So we're now down to public comment. Any of the public like anything to say at the mic? Seeing no public coming up, I'll go down to commission comments. Commissioner comments? Excuse me? Not about the project. We're down to commission comments. Any commissioners have anything else they'd like to say? So, Mr. Mills, go ahead. Not as long as it's not about the project, so we're okay.
It's not about the project, it's about what is in the code of the ordinance is about the school buses. Now, I know 2 years ago, they agreed that all schools would be notified. Now, who does that notifying? I don't know, but in this project here, Polytech was not notified, and neither was Lake Forest notified of either one of the developments. Now, what I'm thinking that should be done now is in the codes, written in the code some kind of way so that the engineers know that when they read it, that's got to be incorporated in their plans. The school bus safety stop for picking up kids. And I also think that the school bus transportation supervisor should be involved and engaged in saying, this is how we want it done. Put that in writing in the code, and that's how it's got to be done in any development, not this development here, but any development that comes up in the future. Now, we go back and say, well, you're picking up kids along the road. That's old, but that's old stuff. But this is new. Well, we're coming up with something new, and this is what I'm hearing all the time from the schools that I'm dealing with. I'm dealing with Milford, Lake Forest, and Polytech.
I believe the CR school district was notified. Am I not correct, Sarah?
All school districts have to be notified for all
Okay, it's
subdivision
in actually officially
applications.
Caesar Rodney School District because Polytech is a choice school. It's not their actual district, but anybody can go there. They can go there. But it was actually notified, and I think it was notified as a CR school district, correct? It's correct. Make sure you hold your mic. Nobody can hear you.
I didn't talk to the superintendent up at the school. Now, I did understand that Lake Forest was notified, but it got to the superintendent's desk. That's as far as it got. It didn't get to the transportation. That's not the fault of the engineers or the county for not notifying. They did their part. It's the schools, and that's where it fell through on Lake Forest.
Well, we actually had a letter from Dawson, from Mrs. Dawson, that runs the school district in Lake Forest Transportation. That was for the one out there at Reese Apartments.
That was
But
this week. That was
It
this
was in your packet.
Right, I say I got it, but that,
Okay, don't know. Okay, I'll go back to Denise.
Well, I would just recommend or suggest, I suppose, that if we do change something in an ordinance, that we make sure that the notification is not just sent to the superintendent's office, but also to the transportation people's office. And I have a question for Sarah. All of these notices that get sent out, is it with receipt?
Yes. They
That's
have
what
to
I-
demonstrate to us all notifications that have been sent.
Yeah, okay, that's what I figured. Thank you. Wanted it on the record.
Does anybody else have anything else as commissioners to say? Mr. Davis?
Sarah, do you want to give a little report? I think you've notified everybody about the workshop. I'm planning on attending. I think it's going to be good. Do you want to make any comments about that, what it's going to be about?
It's simply a workshop about the new zoning ordinance. We'll go through what's in it.
You're going to speak up. I can hear you down here.
It's simply a workshop about the zoning ordinance you saw last month, what's included in it, and any comments people have.
Thank you.
Make a comment.
Seeing no more comments from commissioners, entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second?
I have a motion and a second. Sarah, call the commission.
Mr. Peterman?
Yes.
Mr. Servon?
Yes to adjourn.
Mrs. Karcher? Mr. Galvery?
Yes, to adjourn.
Mr. Mills?
Yes to adjourn.
Mr. Davis?
Yes to adjourn.
Mr. Jackson?
Yes to adjourn, and thank you all for coming.
So just a quick notice to commissioners. If anyone needs assistive listening, I have 2 devices here that we make available. So just notify me, come and grab it for me, and I'll be able to give you. And if you need it, if I don't have enough, I'll get some more.